Welcome into Game Day Sports Radio. Time for the Coach Lambert Show. We're going to talk about off-season workouts and maybe what about nutrition and hydration? Have you been getting that message to the girls?
I've been trying, and especially once we start back, we practice for 5.5 hours a day, so it's a whole lot of keeping yourself hydrated. They know, if they're coming back for their second, third, or fourth two-a-days, they know we go outside, we run, we do stadiums, we condition outside, so it becomes a really big, bring your water bottle, don't stop drinking it after practice, drink water all the time, and nutrition too. They're the snackiest girls, but half the time their snacks are like potato chips and Takis, which are great.
They'll burn it off.
You're going to burn it off. You need to really eat something that's going to be substantial. I tell them all the time, eat breakfast before you come. They get a lunch break. So we try to encourage them to take care of their bodies as much as possible. We do a lot of stretching and physical rehabilitation stuff during the weeks too, to make sure that they're, keeping their bodies safe, because it really is a arduous about 4 weeks of practice before we go back to school.
Yes, and when you think fall and football, you think of cooler weather, but it doesn't get cool in Alabama till October.
So
you're dealing with brutal heat. Even in September, it's just as bad as August, maybe not quite as humid.
Yeah, last year, our first football game at Calera, we were under some sort of major heat advisory, and it was I don't know if they did push the kickoff back or if they were thinking, I couldn't remember, but they pushed it back. It was really, really hot, and we're doing a lot on the sidelines. Of course, not as much as we would be doing with competition or something like that, but we're lucky to compete indoors. But whenever we're outside for football, it becomes, keep yourself hydrated. That's the odd thing about our sport, is that we train indoors. We personally compete indoors, but we're expected to be outside, obviously, for football. So it's keeping their bodies, you're a primarily indoor sport, but you also have to be able to adapt and be good to go outside in 95-degree heat and 100% humidity, which is what it feels like nowadays outside.
Right. So your squad is relatively young, I would say, compared to most, and we touched on this in the last show, but you've gone to 2 squads.
Yes.
There's no freshmen, so you have all the freshmen and some sophomores on the JV, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so how is that working out? What do you see from the young athletes? Are they adapting?
Yes, I definitely think so. Their routine that they were able to compete at camp, and even just getting along at camp. I don't mean getting along with each other, because of course all of our girls, they never want to spend a moment apart from each other on either team. But when it came to going to camp, you have freshmen who, I know last year, Heather Adams, who's our head middle school coach, took them to a junior high camp. UCA offers junior high specific camps to where it's only middle school teams. They did that at Jacksonville State last year, but they had never been to Auburn. Auburn is a huge, what we call a residential UCA camp. It's teams from all over, of all ages. They had never done that before. And instead of being on a freshman team isolated to where, it's almost the blind leading the blind at that point, they were on a team with sophomores, people who hadn't been to Auburn before, who have done the late nights in the kind of gross dorms before, who have done the 8 a.m. to 9 o'clock at night days, to where they had teammates to lean on, not just people in the program to lean on. And while that's not the biggest difference, to me, I think it makes a difference, to where it's a lot different being somebody on the freshman team going to talk to a sophomore on the JV team versus you being on the same team. You are teammates, you are doing the week together, you're in the same stunt group, you're working in the same pyramid group. The bonds form a little bit quicker, and I think we saw that. I think the freshmen were a lot more comfortable at camp. It was easier to kind of ingrain them into the things that we do at camp. Of course, varsity leads the charge with us, trying to win the Big Spirit Award at camp, which is called the banana. It is a literal inflatable fruit, and it's the biggest thing in the world to them, and it's the biggest thing in the world to me too. I work for UCA. I'm all about the bringing the spirit, and not just being a talented team at camp, but being spirited, being respectful and kind. So we were able to win the banana. We won it on night 3, and then on final day, what I'm most proud of is we won something called the Leadership Award. And to somebody who doesn't know what that is, essentially they asked every team at camp to vote, if you were not a part of your own team or your own program, which team or program would you want to be a part of? And this could be because of their talent, their kindness, their leadership, and our program won that award. And I've been waiting on a leadership award for years. It's the biggest deal in the world to me. And I've worked these camps all the time, and a lot of times that award doesn't go to the most talented team at camp, because maybe they have talent and they're rude and they act like they are above people. And we were one of the more talented teams at camp, which is always an honor, and you want to do your best because we actually, I'm kind of going off on a tangent about camp now, but it was a really great week. Varsity ended up going back and forth with I can't remember which middle school it was, but it was a little middle school at camp, and we were sharing some mat space, and we were going back and forth doing our pyramids. And varsity, we put together a really, really strong pyramid. And of course, those middle school girls were just, staring at our girls doing it. And then our girls would sit down and they're screaming and cheering for the little middle school doing their performance. And those are the little things that add up to make our program a leadership award contender. And we ended up getting voted for that award. And that's the biggest deal to me of what we got out of camp. And that also goes to show how well JV came along with it, because JV was also incredibly talented, doing things that they had never done at camp before, never done this early in the season. And they were so kind. They were cheering on varsity. Varsity was cheering on JV, cheering on the teams around them. So I think that us combining the teams has helped, not just with progressing our skills faster, but progressing with how comfortable all the girls feel in the program.
Yeah, the leadership award, that's high praise, and I know you're very proud of that. And then it seems to me like that since you have two squads now, that the younger athletes are going to progress faster.
Yes, absolutely. And we've seen that over the summer with them doing their challenges. Once again, this is not something they do in middle school, so the freshmen are doing this for the first time. I actually upped it a little bit this year just with weekly conditioning. And again, it's not like they're having to go find a football stadium and run a million stadiums. It's all stuff that they can do at home. You can run a mile anywhere. You can do burpees and squats anywhere. It's meant to be, because I know our girls travel. Good Lord, I've been looking at all their pictures, and I think we've touched every continent on the globe with their summer trips. But and I'm super jealous. But we've been, upping the standard with keeping our bodies conditioned over the summer, because we make so much progress up to camp. We would be doing ourselves a complete disservice if we were just like, let's take 6 weeks off and forget our athleticism, forget our conditioning, all the things that they work super hard for. So we expect the standard of, you're going to hold yourselves to at least where we were at camp, hopefully progress over the summer. That way when we come back next Monday, we can just almost hit play after being on pause and just continue to progress from there.
Speaking of next Monday, that's 2-a-days, right?
It is.
So is there any special message? Do all the girls know what's going on as far as what's to be expected? And at this point, I guess the younger girls might have some parents that, that needs to be passed on from the girls to the parents.
Right.
But, so is it going to be different, the same, or still up in the air from years past?
So the structure is still the same. We go 9 to 11:30, take a lunch break, and then come back 1 to 3. And then that second week of 2-a-days is our crazy week. It turns into 3-a-days, but that third time of the day is not practice. We host a cheer camp for the Spain Park Youth Association teams. I think there's about 160 of them this year. So
is that closed, or is that all filled up?
So it's all filled up. We do the one in the fall where the girls get to cheer on the field. That is done as more of like an open individual type camp. Whenever we do the Spain Park Youth Association camp, these are their individual teams. So like the first graders who will go cheer for the first grade football team, every football team has a cheerleading team to match. So we get all of those teams to come to camp. And this year we're actually changing up that camp a little bit. I've been in contact with the leaders of the Spain Park Youth Association, the cheer side of it. And instead, usually we teach them material, kind of like a UCA camp. And I'm very excited about the change that they want to make, because I have wanted to make this change as well. We're going to kind of go into just foundations of cheerleading, going over motions, going over jumps. For the 4th through 6th graders, we're going to go ahead and teach them how to stunt, very foundational level stunting. But again, there's a lot of development that we do at the high school level that could be done at a much younger level. And of course, if you start developing your 3rd and 4th graders, they're going to become stronger middle schoolers, and those strong middle schoolers are going to become stronger freshmen when they enter this program. So we're excited about that camp, changing up the structure of it a little bit. But besides that, 2-a-days are going to look pretty similar. We'll start usually with conditioning in the morning, mainly because that's when we need to go outside, because I'm not taking them outside at 1 p.m. I'm also not taking myself outside at 1 p.m. We're not going outside then. But a lot of conditioning, a lot of getting ready for football season, doing material. Varsity already cheered a football game this season with the spring game back in May. So we've done a lot of like the sideline material when it comes to cheers, but we didn't have a band at the spring game. So we've got to get ready for all of our band material, and they've also been expected to do that over the summer, just refreshing their brains. And those who are new to the program, there's videos. We have a Google Classroom. I've got videos of all of our material, and they've had weekly expectations of watch the videos, learn the material, and then we have a little shared album on like iCloud, I guess, and they upload all their videos. It's just an accountability thing. And I tell varsity especially, because our choreography is coming up and we have a stunt clinic with West Georgia coming up. I'm like, the more time over the summer when we're not together that you spend on this material, the less time we've got to spend on it all together, and we can stunt, we can do pyramids, we can tumble, we can get ourselves ready for this choreography. And the same thing goes with JV. They're going to have to do a lot more on the sideline work versus the band work, because the only time they're really going to participate with the band is at pep rallies. And the list of songs that they play at pep rallies is about this big, and the list of songs they play at football games is about this big. So varsity, we've got a lot of work to do with the band side of things. JV's got a lot of work to do with the cheers and chants side of things, but we're hoping that we can get that done quickly and then move into our skill progression.
Okay. Fundraising, any updates or any message you want to get across to an update on fundraising and
Yes.
the new tiers? How's that going?
I think it's going pretty well. I was actually talking to Kristen Causey, our Spirit Board president, yesterday, talking about getting the sponsorships done and everything and how we're looking. It looks like we're still waiting on a lot of them, so there's still time. Get your sponsorships in. Again, that's going to help us have the most successful season possible, being able to, of course, cover competition costs, which every child we have to pay to compete. Make sure we have the best materials and the best props for game day. It's become a lot more with game day about what your routine looks like with your signs and your poms and your megs and your flags. And there's a lot that we need to upgrade there, as we're hoping to see game day state championships on the JV and varsity level, and we're hoping to go to nationals and have really great success with game day. So there's a lot of just like little things that start popping up that we've got to pay for. And of course, the more sponsorships and the more community support that we have from our families and from the businesses around us, the more successful we're going to be. So get your sponsorships in. That's my message. Get your sponsorships in.
Touching on game day, it seemed to me, as not a novice, but not an expert like yourself, but when game day of 2023 in Orlando, that team finished sixth.
Yes.
And then last year's 2024 team didn't make finals, but they looked the same, or possibly this year's was better. But it's just a subjective.
Yes.
And you move to a different level. So that's what I was talking to a couple of the girls back in February. Like, look, these things are out of your control.
Yes.
You just do the best you can.
There was a lot at nationals this year, and the girls would laugh hearing me say this. There was a lot at nationals this year that was completely out of our control. We had the game day thing, which was just, beyond me. And that's the worst thing as a coach, is when something happens and you cannot explain it. And that's kind of the thing with this sport, is a lot of it you can't explain. Now with, traditional, if we go out to the super regional and we drop 2 stunts and we have 2 points in deductions, that's easy.
Right.
That's 1 point, that's another point. You see the stunts come down. Game day is so subjective. We had 0 deductions, and we didn't advance, which crazy to me. The routine was incredibly successful at the regional and at the state level. While getting 3rd place at state last year was a gut punch to us, and we were really hoping for a better result. It was 3rd out of 19 teams. We were 0.9 out of 1st place. That is still a very successful showing at the state championship. And then to get to nationals, and everything just kind of got pulled out from underneath us. There was also in the most bizarre twist of events, a facilities issue after we competed. I don't know how much of our parents and family and friends know this, but if you notice, when we competed at semifinals, the music skipped at the beginning. Right. And we had to run it back and get it going again. And the funniest, I probably haven't even told you this, Elena was the one who called our sideline in the middle of the routine. She was in charge of calling it. And in a game day routine, you have 3 minutes from the moment the music starts the first time to the end. You have to get done in 3 minutes, or it's a point deduction. Well, our music skips. That counts as the start of our music, even though it wasn't our fault. The music skips. We have to run it back. We're 7 seconds into the routine by the time we actually get to start. And I'm panicking. And mind you, I'm sitting here watching the routine. I'm sitting in the coach's box, and I'm like, we've got to speed up the routine because we're going to go over and they're going to penalize us for it. So I'm sitting in the coach's box, and of course our parents who have been to nationals, in that arena we are basically on our knees right in front of the stage. Well, we do our band chant, and I knew that we had to make up some time before the sideline and not let it be as long of like a pause before. So I'm screaming from the floor. I am screaming, Elena, 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 Elena. I'm trying to get her attention from the ground. And finally, it was like God's plan. She made eye contact with me at the right time. And as soon as they give that situational call, like the defense needs to make a stop, they called it. And I'm just staring at her. The guy is still talking on the microphone. And I'm like, call it right now, right now. And luckily, I mean, I think we've got telepathy or something. She knew exactly what I was getting across to her. And we actually finished the routine in less than the amount of time. And luckily, because of the music skits, they ended up calling that null and void anyways. They said that they were not going to deduct anybody if it went over 3 minutes. So it was like all of our efforts were for nothing. But
well, no, they get it. Sorry to interrupt.
No.
Just that thinking on your feet right there and having that's high pressure situation. So that's a teachable moment for sure.
It was, and we got off the floor, and I remember Elena came up to me. She was like, "Were you telling me to call it early?" Because I did. I said, "No, I was telling you that, and that's exactly what I needed you to do." And luckily, I think that goes to show how much of a connection we have from the floor to the coach's box. And we practice all the time. Like I'll stand up far away in the stands, and I will, be far away to where they can't feed off of me. But other times I'll sit right up against the floor and kind of mimic what it's like in that situation where I am closer. And I don't know what practice prepared us for that, or if it was just God blessing our performance, but me and Elena were able to communicate. And all of that to say, we were like the third team in our division to go in the semifinal. I think by the time they got to like the fifth or sixth team, the sound system completely went out in the arena.
Right.
And then apparently the stage broke. I don't know how the stage broke. There was a huge issue, and they ended up moving the rest of our division over to a different arena for the rest of the night. But they couldn't continue that competition until that arena was done. So if y'all didn't know this, our division did not conclude that night until 12:30 in the morning. The last team in our division competed at 12:30 in the morning. We were one of the lucky ones, I guess, because we went around 6:30 and got out of there. They did not call out the finalists until 2 a.m. So we told the girls, go to bed, we'll wake you up in the middle of the night and we'll let you know if we advanced or not. And so me and Sarah, our athletic trainer, we always are nationals roomies, we sat in the room and we watched it on the screen, and we were not called out. And at this point, it's 2:15 in the morning. I am at the point of just exhaustion, and we made the tough decision that we decided we were going to wake them up anyways in the middle of the night and tell them we didn't advance. So we went door to door at 2:15, knocking, getting them up. And of course, the girls just thought we would, they thought we were going through, and they thought this was a happy knock. But from a coaching standpoint, we decided we needed to get that done in the middle of the night rather than wake up the morning of our traditional finals
and then move forward
and break the news. We were like, we need to get this done now. So woke up in the middle of the night. Half of them thought we were kidding. I do that sometimes. I'm like fake bad news and then good news. I had to be like, no, y'all, I'm actually not kidding. This has happened. And of course, we didn't sit there and explain everything to them at 2 o'clock in the morning. We were just like, this happened, go back to bed. We've got to do traditional finals tomorrow. But even when we woke up, there was nothing to explain to them. And that's the toughest part of all of it. And, something that I'm really taking into this year is, I guess, making that expectation a little bit more upfront that we don't know what's going to happen. As great as we are and as great as our routine is and as much as we practice with game day, it's really hard to tell what's going to happen. And I think that was the hardest part for the girls, is having so much success on the front end of the season. We first place, a very close third place at state, and then to go to nationals. That's the hardest part as a coach, is to explain that you can't explain, I guess.
Right.
Not having that reasoning to back up what happened, because at the end of the day, we're like gymnastics, we're like ice skating. It's a subjective sport. It's not football where you see the player run into the end zone and 6 points goes up on the board. So that's the toughest thing, I think, with coaching this sport, and something that all the girls are now very aware of. And our goal this year is to go in, especially with game day, and be so good that they just can't say no. And whatever that means, we're going to figure it out. So we're trying to really, advance the type of choreography we're doing, get more props, get more, flashy material, see that we maybe look different than other teams, try to just separate ourselves in whatever way we can.
Okay. Yeah, that's, it seems to me like the best lesson learned there is do the best you can, trust the process, perform, and then after that, it's out of your hands.
Right.
And, you know, and if it's good, bad, or indifferent, you just move on. Like in this case, you moved on to traditional, and most would have thought we would have advanced in game day and possibly not in traditional. It ended up being in reverse.
Yes, it did. It was in reverse, and you know, we had our own crazy madness that went on with traditional, but a lot of our parents were a lot more aware of this situation because it happened kind of right in front of them. You know, we got off the mat and we're celebrating. You know, it was a good routine. We had deductions, but it was a good enough routine that I knew that with the 2 deductions we had, I was like, we're going through. We are fine, because traditional, you can look and see that, you know, we are doing harder stunts than Team B. Team A is doing harder stunts than us, and they hit, so they're going to go through at a higher position. But like, I knew we were going through. And then I get our deduction sheet back, and we had a total of 4 points in deductions. When we, based off of what actually happened in the routine, we should have had 1.5 points. So I panic, I disappear for over an hour because I run to the judges table. Fun fact, you only have 15 minutes to contest your deductions after you receive them. So, and I'm not a runner, and the girls know that. I am not a runner, so they probably were like, what is going on? When they saw me take off, I was running. Back into the arena, I fought for an hour, trying to beg them to take back a safety deduction that it was a skill that we competed all year long. We're never called for it, never given a warning on it being illegal. It was put in our routine, you know, by our choreographer, and he didn't know it was illegal. Like, it was like, are you kidding me? This can't be happening. And I was really, you know, fighting for the fact that, like, you can't penalize us for something you didn't tell us was illegal in the first 4 competitions this season that were supposed to prepare us for the nationals. And that argument went nowhere. And, you know, I came back out to the girls and had to explain to them that we may not advance. And it wasn't because of anything they did. It was,
right.
You know, and I was like, if you need to blame it on somebody, you can blame it on me. They were telling me that I should have known, and that if I had a question about a skill, that I should have sent in videos to the judging or to the legality email. I told them, how was I supposed to know it was illegal if you never told me there was a warning on it? You know, it was a very twisted situation, and we again advanced without deductions. Fun fact, we would have advanced in 4th place. Without that safety deduction, we would have advanced in 8th. But we advanced in 11th, and I was fine with that. I did not care.
That made for a lot of drama.
It made for that video that you posted. I mean, I'm really glad you were on the opposite side of me in that video, because I was just, you know, I was inconsolable at that point, because again, it's one of those things that these girls were about to be affected by something that was not their fault. Now, if we went down there and we dropped 4 stunts and we had 4 points in deductions and we didn't advance, that's on us. You know, we did that. We made the mistakes. But in the situation that they did enough to get by and they possibly weren't going to get by, was really tough. And then of course we advanced and ended up, you know, we didn't have a perfect finals performance either, which was, you know, a little disappointing. I'm not disappointed with the girl, but just disappointing for all of us. You know, we were really hoping to, after the drama with game day, you know, have our moment, and it was still a fantastic routine, hardest routine we've ever competed. But that's something that me and the seniors this year have communicated, that like, we do not want to walk off the finals mat sad. Like, right. That is our goal. We do not want to walk off sad. Whatever we have to do between right now and February 11th, which I think is finals day, we've got to make it happen to where we're not walking off sad. So, you know, it all sets up, you know, the ending of last year sets up the goals for this year, you know, with game day and traditional. But nationals last year was a learning experience for all of us. So, you know, we're kind of taking that, and I'm going to reintroduce, you know, all of those things when we get back to 2-a-days on Monday, and be like, for those of you who were there, remember what it felt like. For those of you who weren't there, ask someone who was there, because that needs to kind of be the fire underneath this team's, you know, under our motivation this whole year. You know, champions aren't made at nationals, they're made in July, running outside the stadium with the reps that we're doing, you know, the stunt clinics, the choreographies, the hard practices, that all starts now. So I think that coming off of nationals last year, we've got a lot of motivation, a lot of gas in the tank, ready to kind of go full force into the season.
Nationals 2025 is February, so yes. Before that, we're going to have, will we have 2 competitions in Huntsville, or 1 in Huntsville and then 2 in Birmingham?
Yes, so 1 in Huntsville, we'll start at the Space Center Regional, and then we'll do 2 in Birmingham, the AHSA Super Regional, which is fun this year because we are now in a different classification. So new teams, new faces. It is not the same, you know, teams we've been going against the last few years, which is going to be a different but a fun change. And then we'll do the Magic City Regional. And then we're toying with the idea of going actually to Tennessee for a competition.
Okay.
That is potentially on the calendar. Could be a really fun trip. It's right outside of Nashville. Again, just to get varsity more experience and exposure to teams that they may see at nationals, and also to give JV an experience to go out of state and compete against different teams that are not just the same kind of Birmingham Metro or, you know, Huntsville or Mobile teams that we see at state and we see at these competitions. You know, give JV another chance to go up, put their routine against different people, different judges. So we're debating that. I really want to go, but they've also changed the qualification system for nationals this year to where you have to score higher to actually receive a bid to the national championship. So that Tennessee competition is also on there just as a contingency plan in case, hopefully we don't have to use it. I'm hoping that's a fun trip that we'll all get to take. But that is on there as a contingency. If we, for whatever reason, do not qualify one of our routines at Space Center or at Magic City, we'll have to go.
Right.
So, but I'm putting it out there that it's going to be something fun, a fun trip that we all get to go on, and everybody can, you know, meet new teams and compete against new people. Go eat in Nashville, do what you want, but that's what our competition season's looking like headed up until the state championship in December and then nationals.
So the move to 6A is, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe Buckhorn and Coleman, and they're very good cheer programs,
They are.
right? And so it's not, your competition level is not going to change.
Right.
You're going to still have great competition.
Absolutely, and you know, we're moving out of 7A where you've got, you know, Hewitt-Trussville, Vestavia, Hoover, which is, you know, fun. They're a crosstown rival, and Tuscaloosa County. Like, these are all, you know, big swingers, big teams that, you know, go down in their respective divisions at nationals and do very well. And you'd think, oh, like, we're going smaller, things should get easier. Well, Buckhorn is fantastic. Coleman's great. Athens is a very strong program as well, and they're all 6A. So we're not going from easier to harder. We're not going from harder to easier. We're going from hard to hard. Right. You know, the work still is there for us, but I'm excited for the opportunity to get to see where we stack up against other teams. We do have more of an advantage in 6A than we do in 7, solely because of our school size. We're the second largest school in 6A. So just by numbers, you know, we think in 7A, obviously a school with 3,000 students is going to have a little bit more of an advantage than a school with 1,400. Now we are on the higher side of that. A school with 1,400 kids has a better shot at things than a school with 1,000. I actually don't know how low the barrier to 6A goes, but we're at the top of that now. So it's going to be really interesting to see how we, you know, fit in with the top teams in 6A. There's some really strong game day teams as well, not just traditional. And we've got our work cut out for us for sure. But my goal for us is to go in and make a splash. You know, I want us to enter 6A and have a presence. And I think that hopefully people expect us to, coming from a larger classification. I think that it's an anticipated, you know, how are they going to fare in 6A? And my goal is for us to come in swinging and prove that, you know, we were a top competitor in 7A and we are just as much of a top competitor in 6A as well.
Is there anything else that we haven't touched on that you want to, a message to the girls, the parents, or both, or?
I'd say girls, get ready. It's going to be a lot of work the next few weeks, whether that's work for ourselves, getting ready for competition in football, work with our younger cheerleaders, getting ready for, you know, our State Park Youth Association camp, and, you know, really feeding into our younger girls that will eventually be State Park cheerleaders. I tell them all the time, you know, you want to leave this program better than you found it. And, you know, the goal should be you look back in 5 years and go, wow, they are so much better than we were. That's how, I cheered in the program, and I look back and I'm like, this doesn't even feel like the same program that I cheered for, because again, I was here in the foundational stages of competing, and you can't have one thing without the other. So I'm very proud of the time that I cheered in this program, but it's nice to see year after year. You look back, we were even talking about, you know, the girls who are going to be seniors. That first year they went to nationals in 2022, we were like, we are so good. And then we looked back the next year and we were like, oh, we really weren't that good, but now we're good. And then we looked back again, oh, we really weren't that good, and now we're good. So like, I hope, you know, that trend continues. So that's what we're working for as our, you know, personal goals during 2-a-days, is to be better than we were yesterday, be better than we were last year. Parents, please make your kids drink water and hydrate and take care of their bodies, stretching, you know, resting when they go home from 2-a-days. And It's a tough few weeks, but by the end of it, it's so worth it. We're ready to go when school starts back. Everyone feels prepared. We'll be ready to jump into varsity choreography August 14th and 15th. We're going to do JV choreography, I believe, towards the end of two-a-days. So hopefully by the time school starts back in those first few weeks, we'll have all of our routines done and ready to cheer football and, of course, ready to get back on the competition map.
Coach, thanks for your time, and go Jags.
Go Jags!